Welcome to our last webinar in the Intelligence Operations series. My name is Laura Krennick and I'm on the intelligence team here at Esri. Your presenters today are Wendy Creighton and Ken Mitchell. In today's webinar, we will explore ArcGIS apps that integrate intelligence reporting in real time to quickly detect, understand, and share for situational awareness and decision making. If you'd like to download and follow along with the slides, please see the handout section in the right-hand side of your screen. You may ask questions at any time through the questions box on your right, and we will provide answers during the Q&A section at the end of the webinar. There will also be survey questions when you exit, and we ask you please take a moment to complete the questions so we may continue to present on topics that are useful to you. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the same page you registered from. I now turn over the webinar to Wendy.
Thanks, Laura. Successful military operations depend on accurate, up-to-date field conditions and intelligence. Today, we are going to discuss some of the Esri apps used for the collection and visualization of information for field operations. My name is Wendy Creighton. I am an intelligence specialist here at Esri. I have 20 years experience working with defense and intelligence organizations, focusing on security and intelligence operations. Providing technology expertise and demonstrations for you today is Ken Mitchell. Ken, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Wendy. My name is Ken Mitchell. I'm a solution engineer. I support the national government. I have over 8 years experience supporting DoD and the IC. And I'll go ahead and pass it back to you, Wendy.
The global challenges that we face today are more complex than ever before. A vast number of issues may not lie completely within a single nation state, and they don't necessarily fit neatly into traditional military or diplomatic roles. To respond, our systems and our workflows need to be dynamic, agile, and easy to use. There's an explosion of new sources of information from drones, consumer devices, social media, and real-time reporting sensors. The volume of data and sources is growing exponentially, and from it, critical decisions need to be made quickly to ensure mission success. All of this leads to increased demand for applications that provide access to information and the ability to easily collect, analyze, and visualize it. There's also a growing demand for actionable intelligence at all levels of command. Information is needed that is timely, in many cases real-time, provides a location or spatial context. Location intelligence can reveal relationships and patterns that may otherwise be missed. This information needs to be discoverable, accessible, and easy to use. Geospatial technology provides a fundamental framework where we can organize and integrate our data. We can visualize and analyze the relationships and patterns. We can conduct predictive and forensic analysis. We can also accomplish design and planning activities. Ultimately, we can make informed decisions based on the information and intelligence products created, and then take appropriate action. Why is all of this important to us? Information from the field needs to be timely, accurate, and integrated with more formal analysis products. Traditional field collections using paper workflows don't provide dynamic visualization of data and take large amounts of time and manual effort to integrate with other tools and analysis products. Manual input also increases risk of error, duplication of effort, and confusion regarding most up-to-date information. Timely intelligence products, plans of action, and mission information also needs to be accessible and easy to use by those operators and field units. Apps bring the power of GIS to everyone in an organization. They extend the reach of information to non-GIS experts, field personnel, analysts from multiple disciplines, and decision makers. Apps enable staff at all levels to collect or update field information, to perform statistical and pattern analysis, to view data in maps, charts, and graphs, share and collaborate via dynamic briefings and story maps, and embrace comprehensive situational awareness in configurable dashboards. Apps are revolutionizing how we communicate and share information across units and levels of command. There are a number of apps available by Esri, our partners, and by other users. These apps can be used for planning and collection of field data, to perform analysis and visualize patterns of behavior, trends, or incidents, and be used in the creation of intelligence products and reports. Many of these apps are free and available to anyone in an organization to use. In many cases, you may already have access to these apps with no development or additional costs. In our last webinar, we discussed how Operations Dashboard for ArcGIS provides an organization with a common operating picture to monitor and respond to day-to-day events. It is designed to support a full spectrum of device platforms, from the multi-monitor view walls found within an operations center to a touchscreen tablet such as an iPad or Android device. If you missed this webinar and would like more information on how to configure Operations Dashboard for your use, you can view the video on YouTube at the link shown here. Data displayed in the Operations Dashboard can come from many different sources. Some of those may be the data collected from field apps. When using apps to leverage the ArcGIS platform, you can manage assets and tasks in the field with Workforce for ArcGIS, navigate your forces using Navigator for ArcGIS, complete forms and surveys in the field with Survey 123, and download and edit maps in Collector for ArcGIS. This can also be done disconnected. In general, a typical workflow for using apps on a mobile device looks something like this. First, you need to prepare your data. This includes base maps and data referenced or copied to the server. Then publish a service. Make sure to enable edit, query, sync, and update. Author your content. If needed, enable offline mode for web maps. Then download to the device, where you can view, query, and edit the information. Lastly, if the device is disconnected, don't forget to synchronize your changes when you reestablish connectivity. Let's take a look at the first two apps that will help you manage and prepare your units for operations in the field. With Workforce for ArcGIS, you can plan and coordinate field assets and tasks, monitor assets. Workforce app is fully integrated with other Esri field apps like Navigator and Collector for ArcGIS. Navigator for ArcGIS is not your ordinary turn-by-turn directions app. It allows the use of your own authoritative data. This includes searching your own assets, routing on your own street networks, and visualizing your own base maps. It's fully integrated with other Esri field apps like Workforce and Collector for ArcGIS. And data is stored locally so you can work reliably in remote areas without a cellular data connection. Navigator is available on iOS and Android. To see more, let's turn it over to Ken, who's going to show you these apps in action.
Thank you very much, Wendy. When we start taking a look at Workforce, as Wendy has stated, this is where we can start to plan, understanding the who, the what, and the where of how the projects are going to be created and how we're going to assign them and what we want to look at monitoring as an organization. With Workforce, we'll then administer those by creating the actual project, configuring those assignment types based on the planning stages. From there, we can add the pertinent operators as well as dispatchers back in, say, a talk floor or even back at home station in order to help assign the assignments for our field workers. Outside of administering and creating those, Some other configurations that are very useful is configuring the map that our operators are going to use when they leverage workforce, as well as the map for the dispatcher. And once we're done kind of creating all of that information, we can then start to assign it. We can create new work assignments, understand who's getting the brunt of the work, see where those workers are at, and if we need to reassign or cancel work based on time of day, as well as other pertinent information that may come in, which may be necessary to reassign the workers itself. Workforce for ArcGIS is being used in a few different ways. One is to help the collection and asset maintenance of key pieces of equipment. So one of the things we can start taking a look at is understanding your key pieces of equipment, such as weapon systems. With Workforce, you can send out an assignment to check, say, your 50 cals in a guard tower or other equipment such as radars or satellites, to go out, check them, ensure that everything is operational, and as the worker and operator is out checking that, they can report back the status based on their findings. We can also use Workforce for event management, and what I look at like this is when we have VIPs visiting, you can see where your workforce is at, quickly be able to task out different workers if something is needed, in order to ensure that, say, security and the event is going to run correctly. And finally, with Workforce, it can provide better situational awareness for your operators out in the field as well, understanding what tasks they're normally doing, understanding where they are at, and then for the administrators and decision makers, it allows them to see what the total number of tasks and how often these tasks are getting completed. Now, I'm going to go ahead and jump into Workforce from from a dispatcher's view. But before I do that, I just want to kind of highlight where we're coming from. So I'm on the top floor responsible for managing the assignments and monitoring the operators. And with a lot of units, missions change over time, priorities start changing, as well as the geographic location based on the priorities and mission changing. So as the manager, it's my responsibility to ensure that our field operators are using the most up-to-date information. And to do this, I'll leverage different components of the platform. And for today, I'll be showcasing how some of the items are and were created as for the operation view, but also how an analyst would actually create some of those. To start off again, I'm going to start with the dispatcher's view for Workforce. Now, I've already started to create this project, and based on the priorities that came from from the mission commander, was we have a new task force that we're setting up in Libya, and it's going to be called Task Force Dagger. Now, I've already started to create the assignments here. As you can see, we have clear village. We want to look at doing population sentiment. And as you're creating it, Workforce walks you through the steps about what you need to add and how you can add it. And after creating the name, we'll then start to add an assignment. So I can say maybe we need to do route clearance. I can add that type. I can then come to the users to see what users we have. Currently, there's myself and Wendy as our field workers and dispatchers, but based on the individuals that are in our organization, I can start adding them as either a dispatcher or mobile worker and add that user there. Now, as Wendy stated earlier, we can also start to expand and connect into some of our different applications that we have here, such as Collector, Survey 123, and Navigator. Outside of being able to connect into that, we can also turn in location tracking. And what this will do is geographically show where your workers are, what their status is, if they're working, if they're on break, and it will also show their last known location that they've signed into. So if they've shut down the application, it'll show where they last were at. And we can enable that and have this refresh every 30 seconds to up to 15 minutes. Now, once we're done with this, as a dispatcher, I can then start to create and load the assignments here. A moment ago, I talked about being able to create the custom maps and adding your authoritative information, and this is just one of the examples here. Now, I can click the Add Assignment. We'll do population sentiment. I can search for an address, or just simply click on the map in order to get the geographic location, provide a priority, as well as the due date as well. Once that's done, I can select Create Assignment in order to assign that out. Now, there is one caveat that I would also like to make when discussing Workforce, is that while I showed being able to connect into Survey 123 or Workforce, as you're developing this project, if you don't have those created and you're going through that process, you can always connect into those at a later date and time when the survey is created, or the web map that's going to be used for collector is created. That way the operators can then leverage those through Workforce itself. Now, while I was establishing the Workforce project, I also got help from another analyst to help create the map that we're going to be using in Navigator. Now, Navigator, as again, isn't like the other navigational applications that we're used to seeing, such as Waze or Google. It allows us to bring in our own information and the authoritative information to search from. To do this, we can create the packages through ArcGIS Pro, and each one of these packages that we create for Navigator will include a geocoder, a network dataset, as well as your base map and operational layers. Now, all of these components are comprised and make up what we call the mobile map package. To create a map for Navigator, there's a couple of ways in which we can do that. We can either customize the Esri navigation map, or you can use all of your own data, your own routes, your own geocoder, and package all of that information up that way. When looking at leveraging an Esri provided navigation map, what we're going to be using is the StreetMap Premium application, to which you can download from ArcGIS Online and import that into ArcGIS Pro. From here, you can add in any of the additional operation layers that you need. So say you have routes that have custom names, such as theater-controlled routes or provincial-controlled routes. You can show those and change the scales for when those show up. You can also create different travel modes based on the type of vehicle you're going to use. If you have your own dataset or network dataset, you can use that as well. And additionally, as you're creating the mobile map package, you can also click down to specific areas of interest instead of, say, a whole country or a whole state. And once you're done doing the configuration and adding in your layers, you'll package that up and then share that back with your portal or ArcGIS Online. Now, bringing in your own data is going to be a little bit more involved. It's going to require that you have the Network Analyst extension, as you're going to have to create your own Network Analyst dataset in order for the routing to work in Navigator. You can also start to bring in your own custom base maps that you've developed and create your own geocoders for you to search on your authoritative information. And very similar, once all of that is configured and set up, we'll package that information up as the mobile map package, share that back to ArcGIS Online or the enterprise, and then the users can download that onto their mobile device. Now, what I'm showing here is the operation view of a completed map package. The operator has the ability to move around on their phone, pan and zoom around, and start to see different layers start to appear. Using the search button in the upper right-hand corner, I can also search for key information within the geocoder. Using Navigator, I can also route to that and understand how long it's going to take and start the navigation. Now that we've kind of seen how Navigator is going to work, how did I actually start to create this? What was that process like? Now, the steps that I ended up taking was I leveraged the premium map packages that were available to me through ArcGIS Online and added my own custom authoritative information using Pro. After creating or adding in a new map, the first thing that I'll do is in the catalog pane is select portal and then all portals. I'll type in this, I'm using a keyword for Navigator. Now the third option down will show that there's a mobile map package for Africa North. You'll see that it's downloadable, and in the thumbnail you'll see that it says mobile map package and provide some other information. All you'll simply do is right click and add the item to the map, and what it'll do is download and provide two maps for you, the street map and navigation day. When you take a look at the underlying information that it brings in, it's going to bring in the populated places, points of interest, your transportation, administrative boundaries, as well as the street layers for you to do the routing itself. Now you can come in here and customize and turn off labels, turn off different features, but I can also start to add in the different layers that we're starting to see here. And as I start changing scales and then use the mobile map package, Navigator will keep all of this information. And again, once I'm done, under the geoprocessing pane, I'll use the mobile map package, and once that's created, there's one more tool that we use from Pro, and that's called Share Package. From here, I'll put the mobile map package in and share that up. And with that, I'll pass it back to you, Wendy.
Thanks, Ken. Now that we're equipped to monitor and manage our units in the field, and they have the maps needed to safely navigate, let's take a look at some of the apps they can use to effectively gather information. Survey123 provides field units with easy-to-use forms for data collection. It can be used on many different types of mobile devices and has built-in reporting to quickly analyze results. Survey123 is fully integrated with the ArcGIS platform, so data can be gathered in the field on any device, even when disconnected. Collector for ArcGIS is based on web maps. Author web maps in ArcGIS Pro or ArcGIS Online and edit them on a desktop, in a browser, or a mobile device. Collector also is integrated into the ArcGIS platform. You can capture and update points, lines, and area features using feature services, both hosted and on-premises. Collector improves accuracy of your data with support for high-accuracy GPS receivers. Ken, would you like to show us these apps in action?
Thank you, Wendy, and I will. So Survey123 can be broken down into 3 simple steps. We want to ask our questions, get the answers, and make decisions off of that. Now, when we ask questions, this is essentially the design and publishing aspect of Survey123. We'll figure out what are the key questions that we want to derive metrics from, how do we want to link one question to another. From there, we want to then get our answers by either having the field workers go ask the local populace out in, say, a village certain questions in order to get key metrics back. Say you want to understand, again, population sentiment for the local government, U.S. presence within an area, Maybe you want to understand their sentiment towards different groups that are known to be operating in the area, to see if they have a more favorable liking to those types of groups rather than U.S. forces and the local government. Through Survey 123 and the form-based, we can get those answers. And once those start coming in, decision makers can better understand and analyze in order to make the correct decisions for future operations. Survey 123 is being used to help standardize questionnaires. And when we talk about standardizing the questionnaires, that's being able to make that transition from paper to a digital map itself, or to digital. So as they're creating these questionnaires, they're trying to standardize those processes and in order to get very similar results when going into different places or different areas of operations. We're also seeing Survey 123 being used as a crowdsource, so you don't always have to leverage your operators going out there. In certain areas, internet is available, and you're able to share out the link to have the local populace fill out the information and provide those answers back without recognizing that it's coming from a US, maybe the local government sends it out. It's a way for you to just get information out without you interacting with the individuals and maybe having a little it could potentially be a confrontation based on the questions that are being asked and the people that are there. And finally, what we're seeing from Survey 123 is decision makers are making the decisions and deriving reports from the information derived with Survey 123. Now, we've talked about being able to bring the information into a disconnected environment, and with Survey 123, we can do that as well. When we talk about bringing Survey 123 in a disconnected environment, this is creating it more for the tile packages for the map to do the geolocations. Survey 123 by its own admission is a form-based, so if you're not using a geolocation, you can already take that off. However, if you're trying to add in that geopoint questions, you'll need to create a tile package in order to bring that component to a disconnected environment. And the first steps for that is to actually create the tile packages, and you can build those in ArcGIS Pro, the desktop solutions, or you can use one of Esri's applications called Tile Package Creator in order to create the tile package. Now, once you've started the process of configuring the survey and create the tile packages, you'll end up going to the root directory for where the survey is and copy one or more tile packages into the media folder for your survey. And when I mean more is if you want to have more than one base map to be able to change and switch out from within your survey, you're going to have to add in more than one tile package. Once you've added those to the media folder and publish that up to your portal or ArcGIS Online, when the user downloads the survey to their mobile device, all of the information is going to transfer with that, and they'll be able to ask the geopoint questions in a disconnected environment. And as Wendy was stating earlier, once you're back in a connected environment, remember to sync those back. So let's go ahead and take a look at Survey 123. Very similar to Navigator, I want to start off by showing an example product or an example survey that we've created in order to give you the feeling. So I can start to type in a village name. I have the date, the time. If I'm talking to an individual in the street, I may want to know their age so we have a better understanding of the different population or what the age group is for the population in a particular area. Maybe we want to understand what they do for a living. Do they support the national government? And depending on their questions or the answers there, maybe we also want to know if they support the U.S. forces that are supporting the national government. We have a question that talks about a local group that's been operating in there. Do they support that? Yes or no? And depending on, maybe we want to understand what the local population has in regards to firearms. So we can ask a simple question if they own a firearm. In Afghanistan, most people actually own an AK-47 as it is legal by law for them to actually own one. And once they're done, we can point, and in this location I have it turned off, but I can kind of drop the point here, select it, and then submit that into Survey 123. Now I'm going to go ahead and hop over to the survey. Once you've actually gone to Survey 123 to create it, there's a couple of ways to where we can actually enable the surveys here. One is through the web interface, and the other is through a desktop interface, which uses Microsoft Excel in order to create the links. Now, using the mobile or web solution, it's as simple as just dragging and dropping items over in order to start building out those requirements. The other thing that we can start to do is, as I'm bringing information in, I can start to configure each of these. So I can set a rule to where if someone strongly disagrees, I can have the bottom item pop up as well. Besides being able to drag and drop and add many different items here, I can also change the appearance to different colors or have a picture background. And as I'm working through everything, I can save it and also preview the information. And once I select that, I can see that item drop down as I'm configuring and building out the survey. And once we're done, we can actually publish that. And what we start to get is the metrics itself. We can change who's going to collaborate with it, how we want to share it out. But the more important information is actually seeing the data itself as it's starting to come in. So we can see how many surveys have come in, what the age group is based on the survey that I built a moment ago. We can see what type of occupations are prevalent in that area, what their support for the national government is, so on and so forth. Now, outside of being able to see these different graphs and charts and kind of analyzing this, I can also see where the data is itself. Now, depending on how the user interacts with it, you can see that I have one out in Knoll Island, and I can click on that one, and it looks like the person just submitted the form without really putting in their location. One thing I will state is if you do connect your survey with Workforce as a field worker, and when using Workforce and you're in your area and you select Survey 123, the geospatial location will transfer over for you based on what the task is or that assignment is. Now, outside of being able to collect information by through the interaction with the local population and using crowdsourcing tactics with Survey 123, we can also start to edit and understand where our authoritative information is through Collector for ArcGIS. Collector leverages maps from your organization, whether they're on AGL or on the portal behind the firewall itself. With Collector, it supports a couple of operations. You can, whether you're in a connected or disconnected environment, we can start editing, changing the attributes, and adding information in, as well as provide the syncing capabilities if you're working in a disconnected environment. Collector for ArcGIS also leverages your existing geodatabase capabilities. So if you have subtypes and domains in there for dropdowns for particular items, you can standardize workflows and have users just select from an option instead of having to type in on the mobile device. You can also conduct field validation and track who is editing what. Besides being able to work in a connected environment, we can also work in a disconnected environment and provide offline solutions. What you'll do is you can collect and update features. You can also search and view the pop-up of the features as well. And in order to do this, you'll end up downloading that web map to your mobile device in order to start the editing. And once back into a connected environment, we can then sync those edits back to the map itself. Collector is being used in many different ways. One is to capture observations, perform rapid assessments. An example of that is in Afghanistan or Iraq is using the culvert denial systems, being able to quickly assess the viability or understanding which ones need to be assessed as you're doing a route clearance. Very similar, we can collect and maintain data. So say you're doing a route clearance and a new culvert appears that wasn't there before. We can quickly annotate that onto the device. And if you're in a connected environment, that'll go back to, say, your operations dashboard and show that information. With Collector, it's starting to help modernize field workflows, so you're no longer having to be solely reliant on pen and paper, jotting down the information, and then going back and then uploading it and going through that. You're getting the information from the field back to the decision maker's hands in a timely fashion. So when we talk about configuring Collector, we want to take a look at a couple of different things. We have the map service and then the feature service for the disconnected environment. The Esri base maps have automatically been enabled for offline use, while tile services that you create or bring in for your base map need to have export tiles enabled. For feature services, in order to work in a disconnected environment, you must have sync enabled. If you don't have sync enabled, Collector will only work, or for that web map, will only work in a connected environment. And then the editing operations that you can look at doing when you bring up the services is create, edit, or create, query, update, and delete. So let's go ahead and jump into Collector and see how this application works. Moving back to my phone, you can see that I've already created a web map with a bunch of different authoritative information. You can see that we have the routes in there, but we're also starting to see a bunch of dots along certain routes. Now, I've been tasked with updating and searching and monitoring the culverts, and as we were going through, I've noticed some things that didn't happen. I can take a look at when the install date was for the culvert itself, when it was last inspected, who did the inspection, the unit that it was, and if there are any attachments, take a look at the attachments for the for it as well. Now, if something needed to be updated, say I redid the inspection and it was tomorrow or Friday, I can select that information and update it as well. Zooming out, one of the things that I did notice while we were out on our route was a new feature was actually added in, or a new culvert was added that we need to add to the map itself. So using Collector, right now it's using the geographic location of where I am out in Tysons, but I can zoom out and pan to the map itself over our area of interest and be able to drop the point to where we need to. I can come back into here and provide an ID, put the install date. The install date and the inspection will be the same. I'll put who inspected it. unit, we're going to say it was Task Force Dagger. And then I can actually add an attachment. I can either take a photo or video, or choose something from the phone itself. So I'll select the image that I already have, and then come back and submit that for the updates. Let me zoom out of here. Now I went ahead and added the point here, and I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a web map to show that as we've added that feature in, we can actually see that. So where I added the feature in the map, it's showing up right here. And what I can do is select that item within the web map to see that pertinent information. And with that, I'll go ahead and pass it back to you, Wendy.
Thanks, Ken. So you've shown us just how easy it is to use ArcGIS apps to improve the management, collaboration, and data collection for units in the field. Field units leverage ArcGIS platform by using data and services from multiple databases and open sources. Units can improve on paper-based workflows and contribute to intelligence production. Field units are empowered with an integrated, configurable, and easy-to-use apps, all resulting in informed decision makers and operators with timely, accurate, and essential information. ArcGIS truly integrates people, technology, and processes to support multiple missions across all levels of command, all integrated, all working off the same map. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. If you're interested in connecting with our defense and intelligence community, you can find us on GeoNet at community.esri.com under Industries for Defense and Intelligence. Here you can ask technical questions, read customer success stories, view user-created story maps, and find additional information on products or solutions. We also offer a series of regional technical exchange meetings. Some of these offer hands-on exercises and training. Register at go.esri.com/di-series. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Laura to take care of some questions.
Thank you so much, Wendy and Ken. We'd like to give you all the opportunity to get your specific questions answered. Please use the questions tab on your right to type in your questions, and we will answer them here live. I do have a few that have already come in, so we'll go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and address this one. Since Workforce is an app that is very likely to run continually, has Esri conducted any battery drain tests?
Thank you for the question, Laura. As of right now, I am not aware of any tests that we've done. However, I can reach back out to our development team to see if they've actually done that, and we can provide that at a later date and time. I will say from my personal use of using Workforce and testing it out, the battery for the iPhone that I was showing, the iPhone 10, lasted about a day before I needed to actually plug it in and retest it. As for other phones in manufacturing, when it comes to battery life and draining, that could change at different rates. But as for the battery test, that'll be something we have to come back with.
Great, thank you so much, Ken. I have another one here that you mentioned some steps required to configure Portal for these apps to work disconnected. Where do I learn more about that? We actually have a webinar on working in a disconnected environment, so I'll go ahead and share that out in the chat box with everyone. So just go ahead and look out for that, and I'll send that over. Okay, I have another question. Perhaps, Ken, you can answer this one. Where can I get the Esri provided map packages if I'm on an internal portal?
So the The Esri map packages on an internal portal is going to require you to use the Street Premium map packages that they have available. It would end up coming in as a geodatabase that you would have to download and import into ArcGIS Pro.
Okay, great. I have another one here. Do you see the use of mobile devices increasing within the defense environment?
I do see the increase of mobile devices within the defense environment. As a former active duty soldier myself, I saw while I was out in the field the advancements that individuals are using, and a prime example of that is the ATAC itself. It's a mobile device that goes on a wrist that connects into the key bits of information or syncs in with the key key components before operators go out into the field. So I do see an increase as well as capabilities in the mobile solution.
Okay, great. I have another one here. What about security within DoD government systems? Users are not allowed to plug in devices to government computers, and government computers are not connected via Wi-Fi. How does one get their information off of the device in a secure manner without violating security protocols?
When it comes to the security protocol, that's going to be dependent on DoD or the agency that you're supporting itself. I have supported an agency that runs mobile devices on in a disconnected environment. What it required for them is to have one computer that is in a connected environment to where they sync up all of the information. As for the type of devices, what the device is, that's going to be based on policy that comes from, say, DoD or any other agency. But it is possible. It's something that we're starting to see more and more. As for security, there are ways to where you can start securing phone downs, but again, that's more government policy on what those protocols are going to be.
Okay, thank you. I have another question. At what point during the survey does Survey 123 passively capture your location? On initiation or completion?
So Survey 123, when you're starting to fill out the form itself, when you click the geopoint location where the map is, if you connect to Survey 123 from Workforce, it's already going to pass over the geographical location that was assigned to the assignment in Workforce. If you are in a connected environment to where there is cell connection, it'll use your GPS location from the mobile device. And if you're not there, it's more or less panning and zooming to the kind of in the general ballpark area. At a later time, you'll be able to go in and edit that geographic location to a more precise once you're back into, say, a connected environment and using either the web map or desktop software.
Great, thank you so much, Ken. Well, that's all the questions we have for today. So I'd like to thank everyone for attending. Please do take a few minutes to complete the survey that will appear when you exit. And also be sure to join us for our next webinar series. We're going to be focusing on the intelligence workstation, and that starts on June 6th. So I'll go ahead and share out the link to register in the chat window on your right. You'll also be receiving a follow-up email after this with details on that webinar series as well. If you had any other questions that didn't get answered today, please feel free to reach out to us, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.